hatch is down, lock is in, lights are on. The tire looks okay. So I had to put air in before it's up. Okay. Bye, house. Okay, we're out. Trim your butt. Oh yeah! Hey, look at that. 6-car garage. That would work nicely, eh? Yeah, they know what the priority is. Okay, we're home with the new toy. And this one's special to me. Might not be to a lot of people, but this one is the same sled I had when I was 18 years old. That is almost 40 years ago. And I totaled the TXL I had when I was 18. And now here it is. I watched and watched and watched to get another one. Get off my sled, you insect. And now here we are. I got another one. Woohoo! Let's get into this hood and take a look and see what I got. Alright, I know I said a couple of months ago I was done with snowmobiling, but I kind of lied. What I meant to say was I'm done with snowmobiling unless I find a TXL. Because I love TXLs. I rode back in the day. I rode Skidoos and Jags and different things I tried out. Hang on a second, we got us an emergency. Fire truck. Never a dull moment. She needs paint, but check out that front bumper. It's straight as they come. It's never been hit. How is that even possible? Man, mine was so banged in. I mean, I totaled my sled so bad. I hit a ridge of snow in a farmer's field. He had pushed the snow across the road from his laneway and I didn't see it. It was one of those gray days where the snow is gray, the sky is gray, everything's gray. And I just hit this ridge of snow full song and the front came up. And when it landed, it hooked the tunnel and ripped that. And then it flopped around like a flounder and the hood opened and it shattered into many pieces and I tumbled along beside it and did not have a good day. It was gone. And even the one ski spindle was bent on it and the skis were just shot. It's just junk. And I've actually patched it back together. I fiberglassed the hood all back together. It's just pathetic, but it still rode good. It still ran great. And I still rode it for a few years after that before parking it. And ultimately it seized up sitting in the backyard and was just a pile of junk. I decided to put it up on I think I discovered Kijiji around that time, about 10 years ago. And I ended up selling it for $300. I think the guy, all he wanted was the engine out of it, really. I mean, the rest was, there'd be some parts on it, but it was definitely a totaled sled. So there was a totaled sled for $300, and now here I get a complete total sled, like everything's there and it's all straight, for $500. So I think that's a good deal. This one's my sled. This brings me right back to being 18 years old. Look at that, all the cables are even still in order down there. Everything's there. Oh my God, I would have killed to have this hood back in the day when I totaled mine. It just, there we go. Key turns. There's no choke on this one. It's a primer, but I used to have a choke, but I used to break the choke off all the time. So I'd have to pull it with pliers or something to get the choke to work. But I like primers anyway. It's starting to stall out when it's cold. Just hit that primer ball one time and it fires right back to life. Let's see if we got any antifreeze in here. If I can figure out how to open this guy. There we go. All right, you see anything down there? Because I don't. I think there's nothing in there, but I might give it a pull just to see if it'll light, but I'm certainly not going to run it, until I figure out, if there's water in this or what's going on. I think there's enough machine here to just start disassembling and get in the parts, get in the parts cleaner, get in the sandblaster. Oh my God, this is going to look fantastic when I put it back together. Everything's there. The steering's tight. Look at this. What happened to the wobble that everything always has? But no, that's nice, tight steering. Everything looks good. The springs are still high. God, the springs on my old 79 were flat. So I think there's supposed to be 3 inches between the snubber and the ski, and I'm thinking there's about 2.5. I'm thinking that's in good shape. I never thought to actually look at the speedometer to see if there is an odometer. Let's hop up here real quick, Mike. All right, let's check out this dash, because this is different. Mine 79 only had a red light for temperature. If the red light came on, it's running too hot. This is nice. It's got a Stewart Warner temperature gauge. 4,000 miles on it. So yeah, I mean, that's not like new, but she's broke in, but it's not the end of the world. I could probably double that in my lifetime. I got a tack. I always wondered why they put tacks on. Like, you're really going to pay attention to that? It's the sound of the motor you're going by anyways. I never really cared much for the graphics on the later ones. I mean, it just really isn't. I might just kind of go ahead and put the 79 graphics on this hood and not try to pass it off as a 79. Just tell people, listen, this is my personal sled, and I wanted the graphics on it that I remember when I was 18. I know for sure these inlets will interfere with that graphic, but I'll just cut it out. Oh, you know what would be neat if I could lay it down on the on the individual panels, cut out the pieces and lay them down. Oh yeah, I got some ideas. I see the graphics missing completely on this side. So there, I'm halfway done. I've got to remove this one. I mean, you can barely even see TXL in that. And then same on the tunnel. The sticker on the tunnel is just not, I mean, yeah, 340's in there, but boy, did they ever make this sled subtle for 81. 79, it was loud and proud. For some reason, in 81, they didn't want anyone to know what you had, I guess. I don't know. But I know what it is. I know what it is, and I am going to go to town on this. I wonder, look at the gas gauge, looks brand new. And it's wiggling, so it's working. Just upside down. You can probably, maybe you can, put it on there one way or the other. Probably not. Yeah, it's always going to be upside down. Hydraulic brakes, oh yeah, it's working. And one new brake pad came with it. High beam, low beam, kill switch. Everything's working. Everything's working. Throttle. Wonderful. I might try to start this thing. I better do it in the trailer though, in case it takes off on me. Don't know what that switch is. Oh, the rope's short. I thought I could pull it out far. It's got a short rope. Okay, so quick short pulls. Oh, the gas is off. Forgot, I had that valve turned off. There we go. Now she's shooting in. Try that. Okay, that's a good thing. Woohoo! Right on. There's the shot. Love that smell. Alright, she's running. A running TXL for $500. All there, complete. No damage. Little bit nicks here and there, but no crashes. I'm happy. I'm happy with that one. Yeah. This is the end of winter. Who buys the snowmobile at the end of winter? Me. Me. I buy a snowmobile at the end of winter. Alright, I'll get this guy unloaded and put it in the queue for things to work on in the shop. I just can't believe I got a TXL. I just can't even believe I found one. Oh, I'm so happy. Probably the only TXL in history to have a trailer hitch. These were the sports cars of the snowmobile industry back then, and someone's towing their grandkids around with it. It's going to put me right back to the old days. I'm going to remember exactly how it felt. And like I said earlier, I rode Everests, I rode TNTs, I rode Skidoos and Yamahas and Sonics and Ultrasonics and Supersonics, all them things, and this was by far my favorite ride. I don't even know what it's a pretty simple looking sled too, but there's just something about it when you're sitting on this sled and you're just boogieing across the field. It just feels right. They just made a really good sled, and it sounds fantastic. That liquid cooled 340 sounds wonderful. And you know, the interesting thing about this, it's a leaf spring sled, and yet it's a 1981 or 1980 they came out with the IFS suspension, the independent front suspension, and they called it a TXL Indy. All right, Indy 340. Well, the hood and everything was different. There was nothing. I mean, I suppose maybe the drivetrain and stuff was the same, but I just never liked it. I never liked the IFS suspension. I know for sure they handled better, but I just never liked the look of them. Never did. But this sled, this is a classic looking sled. It's funny that you could either get the IFS front end or you can get the traditional leaf spring suspension. It just kills me that people were still buying leaf springs when they could just go to a much more modern front suspension on the same sled. I can only think that because that suspension was new and maybe a lot of purchasers were a little suspicious of it and thought it may not work right, whereas this is tried and true from like the 50s, for God's sakes. This is how they were rolling. So, or the price. Maybe the IFS sleds were just that much more expensive. I don't know. But you know what? I've gone through. I had a Yamaha VMAX in the 90s, and I recently sold my Arctic Cat ZR 900 pure muscle sled. Just a killer out there. I mean, it would just eat other sleds for breakfast. But I never had as much fun as I did on my TXL. And now I've got another one, and I'm going to have fun all over again. Alright, so here's an interesting thing I didn't even notice till just now. I've never actually seen this before, but the ski stance has been widened. It looks, I mean, it looks old. I don't know if the factory would do this. I mean, I would think so. Those plates look factory. So unless somebody was really ingenious in engineering their own ski stance widening system to look that clean and good, I just wonder if they offered this as an option. Definitely, I mean, my skis were way in on the 79. It was very tippy. This gave it like another couple of inches, so 4 inches overall in ski stance. So yeah, I guess there was things people did with with the width of the ski. I mean, that must have looked kind of funny when you against all the other old skidoos and stuff back in the day to see this big wide ski stance. But I mean, it wouldn't track in other snowmobiles. Tracks probably it'd be one ski in and one ski out, and you know, you're on the trail washing back and forth. Other thing I noticed here is well. Other thing I noticed here is this switch I was wondering about, and I'm gonna go ahead and say, wow, it's the heated grips switch. It says hot grips. That's pretty cool. I didn't know they had. You can see the wires going right in there, so I didn't realize they had heated grips back then. I'm sure my 79 didn't have heated grips. I would remember that, but I do remember what helped keep your hands warm back then was the shape of this windshield. I mean, first of all, the design of it is pretty slick in that, you know, the lines, I'm a draftsman, so I notice stuff like this, but like the lines of it kind of match the lines of the hood, and it's pretty stylish. I think it's integral to the design, to the overall aesthetics of the front end look of this sled, and it's functional. I mean, it would just throw the wind around you, it would throw the wind up on top of you. This was, I thought, the neatest part of the whole sled when I started riding it, was you get up to speed and you're not just being blasted with freezing cold air because the windshield's guiding it straight up into your face. They actually, and now like my motorcycle windshield's the same way now and everything. It's a good idea. Throw that wind around the rider instead of right at them. Unfortunately, this one is broken, and I'm just gonna have to get a new one, but oh, I'm sure they're cheap, right? I did see someone else online had a temperature gauge on theirs as well, like me. It was a different make, I forget what it was, but it sat in exactly the same spot. So I don't know if that's maybe a dealer add-on, maybe an option. I would love to find a new pad for the steering column for the handlebars. So flea markets it is. I'm gonna have to start going to the swap meets. All right, there she sits. I'm not gonna let it sit here for too long. I know it's on like leaves and dirt and shoot. It's just gonna be sitting here all camoed up so nobody can find it. It looks just like the leaves on the ground. It's right there. But yeah, I'll get that in and get that all cleaned out, get the air gun going, and just see where I'm at once I got a little bit of room in the shop and a little bit of time. Might take a couple weeks, but she's on the list. Woohoo! From Ontario, folks. Cheers.